Jim Graham and Dave Sadler here for Beyond the Cage, presented by Fight Chicks. On the line, we have a special guest joining us. He will be fighting for UFC on Fox 12. He will be taking on Jorge Masvidal. He is the Detroit superstar, Daron Cruickshank. And Daron, thanks for coming back on Beyond the Cage.
Hey, I love being on the show. So whenever you guys want me.
Now, Daron, we last talked to you back in May, so what have you been up to these last couple of months?
Well, I fought in Cincinnati, and then after that fight, I went on a Meet the Troops tour over in the Middle East. I was there hanging out with troops and grappling with them, stuff like that. And then I came home and just get ready for another fight.
I believe you went on that trip with Cody Bollinger, and we actually talked to Cody a couple weeks ago, and we were kind of joking around saying that, you and Cody were kind of doing some things, but a lot of the troops were paying attention to Jessamine Duke and Shayna Baszler, who are also on that trip.
Yeah, they were there, and those girls can definitely hold their own.
All right, now let's take a look back at your last fight, as you mentioned, in Cincinnati against Eric Koch. Were you surprised at all that you were able to go out there and finish him in the very first round?
Well, I mean, I train hard, and I trained to do that. So it wasn't a big surprise. I trained for a 3-round fight, but when it happens like that, it just makes it even sweeter. Now,
was the game plan against Eric Koch to keep the pressure up with your kicks? Because it seemed like you kind of had him flustered there the whole fight up until the finish. I mean, you were just snapping up those kicks there left and right, and he didn't seem to have an answer for him.
Yeah, a lot of people can't handle the pressure that I put on them, and everybody knows that I'm a kicker. So, they can train as much as they want for it, but it's two totally different things when you're standing in front of me.
Daron, Tough 19 just ended about a week ago. I'm wondering, did you watch it at all, and did you think it was as bad as Dana said it was?
I actually didn't have a chance to watch it, so I can't really, have any input on it, but Dana's a man, and, what he says goes, so, yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, hey, we all got bosses to report to. You can't be disparaging the boss. I got you.
That's right.
But with Tough 19 ending, it marks the end of BJ Penn's legendary career. What are your thoughts on BJ Penn?
I feel like he doesn't have to fight. He's already proved himself as an athlete throughout his whole career and every achievement he's done. His last fight was not his best fight. And obviously everybody thinks that, sometimes you gotta know when to hang up the gloves. I feel like whatever coach he was working with for his striking totally did him wrong and told him to fight like that, because, that definitely didn't work. It looked like he was flat boxing and just that's, boxing and MMA boxing, two totally different things. And what he did before that fight worked, obviously. That's what made him so successful. And If it's not broke, don't fix it.
Were you in Vegas for International Fight Week?
No, I was not. I'm in Michigan and getting ready for the fight.
I was out there and I couldn't remember. There were so many fighters out there. I couldn't remember if I ran across you or not. So that takes away one of my questions. No, but I know you're in camp, but you got to relax at some point. So the new UFC game came out, and I'm wondering if you had a chance to play that yet.
I have not got to play it yet, and I'm probably not going to until they come out with my own character.
Oh, man. You know what you should do, Daron? You have a huge Twitter following and Facebook and all that. Put something out on Twitter that you need, like the what do you call it, the mock-up of your character. There's somebody out there that I'm sure has made a perfect Daron Cruickshank. And give him a free T-shirt or a picture or something.
Right. You're right. I should do something like that. I do feel like they are going to have more fighters out. It's just, you're going to have to pay for the update, and then you'll get more fighters and all that stuff. So.
Daron, don't feel too bad because current bantamweight champion T.J. Dillashaw isn't even in the game, so don't feel too bad that you're not in the game.
Right.
All right. Well, obviously we're catching up right before UFC Fight Night 45. I'm wondering, and so is Jim, what do you think about the main event coming up Saturday? Today, Wednesday. Jim Miller and Donald Cerrone. What do you think of the main event?
Well, actually, I'm a pretty good fan of Donald. I mean, I not only his fighting, but I like how he carries himself outside of the cage, and he's an all-American Texan boy. So, I hope to see him to win because he brings it in the cage. He's really successful, and he's exciting to watch.
I think there's a lot of similarities between you and Cerrone. You seem like Cerrone says it, I'll fight anybody, anytime, but you definitely carry yourself like, yeah, you want to go, let's get in the cage and let's lock the door and go to business,
If we lived closer, we'd probably be best friends.
So I'm going to switch. We're going to talk about your upcoming fight, but before we actually get into that fight, I'm wondering, you've had, I believe, 8 fights. This will be your 9th in the UFC. Every one of your fights has been on free TV. This will be your first time on Big Fox. Are you one of those guys that cares that you're on free TV, vice pay-per-view, vice Fight Pass? Is that a big deal to you, or you really don't care as long as you get to punch somebody?
No, I really don't care. I mean, I get the exposure that I get. I've been on ESPN's Top 10 Plays of the Week 3 times now. So, I mean, I get a ton of exposure, not only in my fighting, but outside of it. So it doesn't really matter. If fight's a fight, I'm still making the same amount of money. Then, not, even if it's on the undercard or main card, doesn't matter. But, it's nice to fight on big cards, but
yeah,
no big deal.
Hey, you'll be on those posters sooner or later when you're challenging for the belt. So
right,
you'll be in those big time fights. All right, so we're 8 days away from the weigh-ins for your fight. How's everything looking with the weight cut? Everything feeling good?
Yeah, everything's going good. I mean, everything's on schedule. I'm like 172 this morning. I'll probably be in the 60s when I cut my water out. Try to get as much body fat off me and tighten the diet down really, really tight.
All right. I got one more for you, then I'm going to turn it over to the man, to Jim Graham.
Okay.
For your fight that you had in Cincinnati, you came out to Elvis. What are you coming out to next week?
Well, I always like to try to keep a secret. I always try to change it up and keep the fans guessing. So you're just going to have to watch. I can't tell you.
All right. Well, you know what? I'm going to do the radio personality thing. You can definitely tune in and watch live and free on Fox when Daron walks out to the cage.
July 26th.
That's correct. Did you see that, Jim? That was very radio of me.
That was. And, of course, we're speaking to Daron Cruickshank here. He will be taking on Jorge Masvidal, UFC on Fox 12. You can follow him on Twitter at Cruickshank155. And on the 26th of July, when you take on Masvidal, would you say that this is the biggest test of your career so far?
It for sure is. Masvidal is definitely a worthy opponent. He's very tough. He's been in the UFC for quite a while, and he brings that street toughness to the fight, and that's one thing that I'm going to have to conquer.
Now, against Masvidal, what are you going to have to look out for him when you take him on to be successful?
I think Masvidal's biggest attribute is that he's tough, and that's, he can take a punch, he can take punishment, and I'm just going to have to overwhelm him with, all my weapons, my hands and my feet.
Now, like you said, Masvidal is a very tough guy. He's had a lot of decisions in his career, both victories and losses. He goes 15 minutes quite often. So what would it mean to you if you were the first person in 5 years to go in there and get a finish against him?
Well, it'd be huge for my career because after this, I expect to, if and when I beat him, I expect to have a top 10 opponent.
Now, with your fight being in San Jose, California, do you have any plans of seeing any sights or doing anything cool while you're there for Fight Week over in California?
I don't really know what San Jose is famous for, but I'm sure I'll get around, and I always do a lot of walking that Fight Week. So we'll see.
They have the San Jose Sharks. That's the most important thing, I think.
What is that?
The hockey team.
Oh, yeah. I play with
Yeah. Hey, obviously they're not doing the right things if you don't know who the San Jose Sharks are.
No, they're not.
All right, Daron, we'll get you out of here with this. The main event of Fox 12 is Matt Brown against Robbie Lawler. That looks to be a really good one, but who do you have winning that main event?
That's a tough one to say, because both guys are extremely athletic, extremely skilled, and extremely tough. I am very excited to watch the fight, and I wouldn't bet on it because I have no clue who's going to win.
Anything else you'd like to add, Daron, about your fight coming up here on the 26th?
Yeah, just watch me July 26th. I don't really have anything special to say. Follow me on Facebook at Daron Cruickshank and on Twitter, Cruickshank155.
All right, he is the Detroit superstar. As he said, follow him on Twitter at Cruickshank155. You can watch his fight on Fox Broadcast Television against Jorge Masvidal on the 26th of July from San Jose, California. Daron, thanks again for coming on the show, and wish you lots of luck coming up next Saturday.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
Once again, that was the Detroit superstar, Daron Cruickshank, right here on Beyond the Cage, presented by Fight Chicks.